Welcome to the Water Babies podcast. This week we are joined by Stephen Weimer, Joshua Weimer, and Lindsay Weimer because we could only afford one last name. We will be talking about Bigfoot and other things. Probably will meander and go into some really stupid things that we'll end up regretting and cringing at later on the Water Babies podcast.
Thank you for joining us tonight on the Water Babies podcast. This is Lindsay Weimer, and joining me is my brother,
Inigo Montoya.
Josh Weimer.
I used to be the boss, but now I've been demoted.
And my cousin, Stephen Weimer, which I guess he doesn't want to talk right now.
I mean, you said my name, so I don't know if I need to say anything more.
And joining us tonight as a guest is my sister, Janelle McGrain.
Nice job,
Weimer.
I was
proud
really
of
close
you.
to calling you Weimer.
No, we can only afford one last name.
Oh, that's right. You're a Weimer tonight. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. I was a Weimer for longer than I have been a McGrain.
I had to propose to Joel when he was our guest, so...
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Janelle, what is your background in cryptozoology, ufology, paranormal? Do you just have an interest in it? Have you ever had anything interesting happen? Did we just lure you over here with promises of food and hanging out with the animals and then put a microphone in your face?
How did our lizard pooping on you affect your life?
Did it make you believe in...
Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Not so far. No, my relationship with cryptozoology in general is that I grew up with Josh and he was fascinated with it. And so it was fun to listen to him get excited about things. And I'm very skeptical by nature. I don't in general believe in things that I can't see.
Okay.
So which cryptids haven't you seen?
All of them?
So which cryptids have you seen?
None of them.
Oh, that would make what she said earlier make more sense. Which cryptid that you haven't seen is your favorite?
I like the Mothman, and I think my favorite thing about him is that most cryptids, when I hear the stories, to me it sounds like people trying to come up with a reason why something bad is happening to someone who maybe reminds a person of themselves. But with the Mothman, the idea is that he's a harbinger, or not a harbinger, but more that he's coming to warn people, right? Warn people of impending danger. And it seems more positive to me, I guess. So I don't know. I've always kind of dug the Mothman.
That's a really interesting take on the Mothman. Usually, it's seen as a harbinger of doom, but the way you're saying, it's more like he's warning the people.
That was my
almost
understanding.
Like trying to save them.
Well, there's a lot of accounts of him more being of warning than a harbinger.
Right, but a lot of times it's the same thing because it's like a lot of the lore around Mothman paints it in the light where he's almost malevolent in the way he does it, where it's like he says it's going to happen, but he does it in such a way like he knows people will not listen to him. So I really like that.
Yeah, but have you ever tried to warn someone that they were doing something stupid and that there were going to be bad results? Dude, that's just kind of how people are.
My whole life has been either the receiving or the pitching end of that.
Yes, I know. I am the pitching end of that in your case. In many cases.
Sympathetic with the Mothman.
I am the Mothman.
Okay. I'm sorry for calling you a harbinger of doom for the past 27 years.
It's fine.
Josh, don't get that tattoo. It'll end badly. Shut up, naysayer. I don't know why I had to pull a voice for my own.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't sound like that, do I?
Which one?
Which one do you think I sound like?
The first one definitely sounded like her. That was the most spot-on Janelle impersonation I've ever heard.
Are a lot of people trying for a Janelle impersonation?
Oh, that's 90% of these podcasts. You're going to be really offended when you go through and listen.
I am behind.
Janelle Lindsay's is especially offensive. It strangely gets racial. I don't know where that comes from.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
All right. So, changing the subject. Josh, do you want to do your segment first since I opened?
No, I like having it where it's at.
Okay. I will do my segment then. So, my segment of unnamed origins is...
No, it's not. unnamed origins doesn't make any sense. It's an unnamed segment.
No, I like mine better.
It made less sense, but that's fine.
You didn't jump on it, we'd be moving on now.
I'm far enough into the podcast to know that it doesn't always make sense.
Except for when we're doing Janelle impersonations, then it makes total sense.
It always makes sense then.
How are you going to edit that out, Steven?
I'll just cut the picture out.
No one told me there was a picture.
I'm just going to put it out there. I maybe don't have a face that's ready for camera. Maybe edit my face out too.
All right. So I'm going to give you guys a disease name, and you have to guess what the disease might be or what it would do to you.
I don't want a diseased name.
Your name is Stefan. You already have a disease name.
Steven, you're now called spinal bifida.
It's spina bifida.
I'm Janelle. There we go.
I know. I don't.
We're getting up that 90%.
I don't even want to say this because I know she's gonna correct me.
I may not know what it is.
Rickettsia.
What was the name again?
Rickettsia.
Is it R-E or R-I?
R-I.
In both cases?
Yes.
All right. It's kind of become tradition that I go first, mainly because Steven needs a chance to Google it.
And he somehow usually gets it wrong anyway. He got it kind of right on the last one.
Eerily so.
Yeah.
So Rickettsia rictus. Rictussi. So the two things that come to mind is like rictus, like when you die, where it sets in and your joints lock up, and then reticulated python, which I think has actually got the same root word. So I'm going to say it's when you've strangled so many people that your hands freeze in place. So you just like go around with these claw hands, and it does lead to some really funny hijinks, but mostly just sucks.
I kind of like the strangling thing.
Have you ever not just agreed with Josh at first?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was right last time.
I know, but he agreed with you at first, and then when we made fun of him for it, he came up with his own guess.
Did I?
I don't remember that. I may have been busy impersonating Janelle.
Janelle.
It definitely does sound to me like some sort of a stiffening, maybe like lockjaw or something along those lines.
Okay. So I did the scientific name for a bacteria tonight instead of giving you the name of the disease, the common name.
You should tell us that.
The common name is Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Oh. So that does involve lockjaw, doesn't it?
I think it can.
Yeah.
Muscle tightening and spasms.
Yeah.
What is this disease? I don't know what this is.
You get it from a tick bite?
From a tick. So it is a bacterial infection, and it was discovered by Dr. Ricketts. Is how it got its name.
Oh.
And it is a tick-borne illness, and so avoiding ticks is very important. It causes fever, headache, rash, nausea,
Write this down.
stomach pain, muscle pain, and lack of appetite. But it is characterized by its rash.
My father-in-law had Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Oh,
jeez.
He's had everything.
He's had West Nile too.
Oh, jeez.
I think that dude should just not go outside anymore.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
I didn't know you could. It's very rare in Idaho. That's impressive that he got it. But yeah, just don't get it. Don't get ticks, man. They're horrible creatures. Check your dogs.
Hide your dogs. Hide your wife. Everybody getting ticks.
As we're I don't usually do the public service announcement things on here.
You're still not. You're fine.
As we're going into the summer months, watch out for ticks. They're horrible.
And as we all know, the best way to avoid ticks is by urinating on your friend's legs.
Nope.
No, the best way to avoid ticks is to stay inside.
Well, that's where I was going with it. You pee on your friends, you're probably going to have to stay home or go to jail.
Or if you live with your friends, if you did it, then you would.
Do you always notice how it always seems a little on edge here? That's a well-cultivated thing.
They don't sit next to each other. I'm just saying.
That's true. My source for that tonight was the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. All right, Steven, do you have a cryptid for us?
On April 20th.
That seems like a yes or no question. I don't know.
Well, I like how he looks at Josh before he starts talking because he knows Josh is going to say something.
Well, I've been working so hard not doing it. I don't think I have for the past like 3 or 4
I don't
episodes.
think you have.
And usually I wait for him to announce what it is before I say anything.
On April 26, 1890, the Tombstone Epitaph published an article of 6 gunslingers shooting the Tombstone Thunderbird right out of the sky. They took a picture of the featherless bird, pterodactyl-like creature, spread out and nailed to a barn with a wingspan of 18 feet. The cowboys were holding hands, stretching their arms out, comparing the size of the bird.
Oh crap, you're just reading the script of Brokeback Mountain. No.
However, this picture has never surfaced or been found. A man named Ivan Sanderson claimed to have left the photo with a man named Hiram Cranmer, a retired postmaster in 1963. In 1967, Cranmer died when his house burned down and the photo with it.
So I have some notes right off the bat.
So we're sorry, I'll do mine, then you can do yours.
What is with
So this podcast is about Hiram Cranmer.
No, it's about a burning building.
Very nice. I feel like that's not actually that uncommon.
I was afraid it was about a bird. I'm scared of them,
No,
so I'm
we're talking
glad
about,
to hear it was about someone
we're
else.
talking about
the
a bird.
Thunderbird.
Yeah, that's what
The
I was
burning
afraid we
building
were
bird.
talking about.
18 feet.
We're talking about an 18-foot wingspan Thunderbird.
Have you heard?
It's okay.
What's
the
the
big
word?
birds aren't as
Thunderbird.
scary as little birds.
Oh, disagree.
Much disagree.
The big birds just leave you alone. The little birds like a dive bomb.
Yeah, and then the big birds take your kids away and fly off with
Right?
I don't have
18
kids.
feet.
Bonus.
them.
No, I don't have kids. I'm
What
not worried
your
about it.
poodle?
You know, with a lot of cryptids, like their body dimensions don't make a lot of sense. So maybe like had 18 feet wingspan, but like it had the same body size like a mouse.
A little like 2-inch.
Right? What
So
color
this thing
were
is just like
guys?
terrified, not able to land because its wings are so big. So it's like going around the sky screaming, "Help me! I'm so small!"
Except it's all like,
It had a big voice to match its wings. So.
it's like its whole body is this long.
But why did they only take one picture of it? It's like,
Well,
what?
it was like, what did you say? 1890?
Yeah,
Yeah.
taking pictures back then was hard.
Hard
That was
thing to
probably like their
accomplish.
entire
And
year's wages.
expensive.
Yeah. So,
So,
I'm sorry. We talked about Tombstone, so we all know where this is going. I'm now required to do my
I'm your Huckleberry.
exactly. I'm going to be doing bad impersonation of Doc Holliday for the rest of this podcast.
I really wish you wouldn't.
Yo, you want to do a spelling
boy.
contest or something more your speed? I said bad. I didn't realize it's going to be that good.
you amuse yourself.
Is the
Too
secondhand
much.
embarrassment on this podcast this big of a problem every week? Or?
No, at this point, I think
We don't
everyone's
have
just...
as much shame as you do, Janelle.
Oh, well, fair.
So, one thing I found I found a lot of things interesting about the Thunderbird because I actually didn't know a lot about it. Like this article or this story is the one that I'm most familiar with because it sounds like it explains away what the Thunderbird is pretty well, but there's a lot of mystery behind it. But the actual standard, like what's more commonly seen as a Thunderbird would be the mythology behind it. Because like a lot of the Native Americans considered the Thunderbird spirit that would I'll just go through a couple of them. So in the northeastern portion of North America, the Thunderbird is actually very prevalent. Obviously, it's through most of America, but over there you get it's a lot more prevalent there. And you got I don't know how to say this. The Algonquian people.
Algonquin.
Algonquin.
You got it.
Algonquin peoples and the Iroquois are like the most seem to be involved with it more. The Algonquin mythology, the Thunderbird controls the upper world while the underworld is controlled by the underwater panther or great horned serpent. The Thunderbird's wings not only create thunder when flying, but lightning, which is cast at the underworld creatures. And then I'm not sure how to say this one, the Ojibwe.
You're on your own.
Ojibwe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Say the Thunderbirds were created by the Nanabojo spirit to fight underwater spirits and to punish those who broke moral rules. And then the Thunderbirds migrate with the other birds. And so in the fall, they go south after the underwater spirits' most dangerous season was over. The Menominee story is that the Thunderbirds live on a great mountain that floats in the western sky. They control the rain and are enemies of the great horned snakes, which are called the Misikini Ubik. The Thunderbirds prevent them from overrunning the earth and devouring mankind. So a lot of the Native Americans share.
They're more protectors.
Yeah. They share the theme of that the Thunderbird is an enemy of the underworld creatures, which I found pretty interesting.
Really
I did not know. I didn't even know really that they thought of a underworld or had mythology for the underworld, and all of them in common, the underworld controlled by the great horned snakes, or the underwater spirits, which were controlled by the underwater panther or whatever it was called. Yeah, the underwater panther. There are some tribes that have more, the Thunderbird was more vengeful, grabbing children and carrying them away and stuff like that. So there are some, but the more common one seems to be that it's a protective spirit.
My understanding of it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is basically was it was a deity, and so not only was it a protector, but it also was carried out justice.
Yeah.
So that when people stepped out of line,
that was some of the mythology as well, but that's not all of them.
Right.
But
because a lot of them they were created by a deity, and then some of them are a deity.
Well, it was divine, is more what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, they're also I didn't really get time to look into it too much, but there's also a couple of different mythologies about the Thunderbird fighting a giant killer whale. I'm not sure what the mythology of the killer whale was, but one of them was kind of explaining how it was a very cataclysmic fight.
Fights the Tilikum?
Sorry, what?
Is it when he fights the Tilikum? Is that story?
I'm not sure. I didn't really get a chance to really look into it, but or I didn't have time to really look into it, but I found that also kind of interesting. One thing I did find was an article that kind of mentions a bunch of times that the Thunderbird has been seen. So we got one in January of 2018, just 4 years ago. A woman was driving and she saw a bird in Alaska having a wingspan nearly as wide as the road. And in Pennsylvania, in May 26, 2013, there were two friends who were walking through the woods near Bryan Athen Castle and were startled by, they say, it was extremely loud, and I glanced up and saw a huge black bird. Anthony said in his report, it was sitting above us, and we seemed to startle it. It flew about 100 feet to a nearby branch. Its wingspan was at least 10 feet, and judging how far it was, it looked to be around 4 feet tall. It seems like a ton of supposed Thunderbird sightings had wingspans of about 10 feet. But the Thunderbird in most mythology is way bigger than that. There's somewhere there this wingspans of 20 to 25 seems to be a pretty common one in mythology, but then they've got some where they're wingspans of over 100 or whatever. But
isn't a bald eagle's wingspan is 6 feet, right?
Yeah, the largest flying bird.
6 feet, right?
Yeah, the largest flying bird is the California condor, which has a wingspan of 10 feet.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. That's not that much bigger.
Is it the condor or is it the albatross? Because I thought the albatross actually had
it's the
condor.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's
they had them at the Portland Zoo. Got to see some last month. They're huge.
Wow.
Yeah. We've got accounts so as early as 2018. That's the last one I've seen. I'm sure there's been earlier ones, but the latest one that I saw was in Alaska in January 2018. Someone saying that they saw it flying with a wingspan as large as the road.
So I'm really, really bad at saying where tribes are from, but the Algonquin, aren't they like from like
New York?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like
Yeah.
in my mind, the Thunderbird was always like a southwestern thing, like so it'd be like the Hopi. And,
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. But it is it is all over America. So
right.
It's not like centralized, but does seem to be more prevalent of a mythology or of a cryptid in the northeastern area.
That's crazy because like I thought it was like a distinctly southwestern thing.
Yeah.
And here's another little tidbit. Thunderbird is also a type of high proof wine that was very, very cheap. So there's lots of blues songs that reference Thunderbird, which I think is actually what this podcast is about.
Yeah, the Thunderbird is also a website. They make email easier, is what they call it.
Okay. I was like,
it's a car too.
When-
if we're just naming things that are Thunderbirds,
So things that all go together well. You drink and can send emails while you're driving around.
don't do that.
I would say we don't do that.
I don't know. We've endorsed worse things.
I doubt it.
You still got a few podcasts to listen to, man.
This podcast is not endorsed drunk driving.
It doesn't.
Thank God.
But flying, if you can make that work.
Drunk
just
flying
more
is
power to
fine
you.
because someone else is the pilot.
So
I don't know if I was
the other
actually saying
day,
that.
the other day I was thinking, Da Vinci made a flying machine. The White brothers made a flying machine. Why not? We have all this technology. I should be able to make a bicycle-like flying machine for myself for personal transportation.
Stop recording. This. Let's get up on the roof and make this happen.
Dude, you tried this one time with a skateboard and a kite.
We're adults now.
A cardboard box, a skateboard. There was no kite involved.
Oh dear God. No, I think there was a garbage bag though. Actually,
I
remember correctly.
We had a couple garbage bags. I do remember that.
It seems like we could put our minds together and come up with a personal flying machine.
No, after having listened to ourselves for 8 or 9 episodes now, I don't think we could. I had way more faith in us before I
find a blueprint on the internet. You're good at building stuff.
Sure.
We have a welder now.
Right.
We could do this.
As your big sister, I can't
We have a whole
endorse this.
tree of wood
We do have a whole
deal
tree
with,
of wood
Yeah.
to deal with.
That's true. Why don't we just fly that bad boy out here? And now it's time for unpopular opinions about popular cryptids. Yay! I like that. You made my guitar reverberate.
I heard that. That was weird. I bet every viewer is going to be like, that sucked.
Which is totally out of the ordinary.
I can
for
see
this
the
segment.
sound spike from here. I'm sure that's true.
All right. So as I was going through and planning out which unpopular opinions about popular cryptids I wanted to do, I was noticing a lot of them had to do with, mythical great apes. So Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the skunk ape, all these different ones.
Rock ape.
I decided, yeah, exactly. Instead of going through and doing them each individually, which would probably get really boring for me and for the viewers or listeners. Devil monkey. I would go ahead and I just get them all knocked out at once because my argument for all of them can kind of be surmised for all of them, not just one of them. Okay, we can't just take one thing and then just slightly alter it the next town over and say it's something completely different. I understand that there's a lot of genetic diversity in the world, and just having slightly different, color of your hair can mean you're a different species or whatever. But do you really think it's probable that there are all these great apes around the world that are different things? Every single culture, every single own stupid little city's got its own story about some great ape that they have seen. It is obviously because Bigfoot is a transdimensional creature and he's able to make time wherever he goes. So people, pull your heads out of your bottoms and get on board. Stop making up lies. It's Bigfoot. They're all Bigfoot. It's always been Bigfoot.
I think that was my argument to why Nessie could be somewhere else.
No, it wasn't. If you listen back to it, no, it wasn't.
I'm pretty sure I heard her say that Nessie was transdimensional and...
No, she didn't. She said because there are fish in ponds in South America, Nessie...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm saying the fish can travel different.
We are not bringing this back up.
I think she already did.
I think we already got in this fight at Grandma's house today.
You did.
20 years later, it's gonna be like,
I mean, the good thing
there's
about
fish
us is
and
we
ponds in South America.
we don't dwell on stuff.
It wasn't a
Don't
pond.
tweet.
It
Don't tweet, Josh.
a pond. It was a fountain.
I think you said puddle at one point.
There was also fish and puddles.
I can't. I don't have a dog in this fight.
Okay, I think it's probably just some big bird.
What kind of big bird?
Like a condor, pterodactyl.
Oh my!
Are we just ignoring what Josh said and moving back to the Thunderbird? Is that what's happening
Yeah,
right
no,
now?
that's how the segment goes.
Oh, you just rant and then we...
Yeah, it's unpopular opinions about popular cryptids. If you want to touch on it, you can, but you're kind of in unprecedented territory there.
No, you're fine. I don't have anything to add.
I'm disappointed.
That's right.
We could do some riffing on that.
So I just learned a long time ago you can't argue with a Josh.
No, you can't. I mean, you can, but
It's not worth
you're
the
really
time.
just serving my greater purpose in doing so. So, okay. Did you say pterodactyl? Is that what I heard?
I did say pterodactyl.
You know, I was going to say it's fake, but now you've said pterodactyl.
1889.
Yeah, pterodactyls were still around then. It's good.
What if there was just like one left?
It's like a really old one. It used to hang out with Nessie.
It was just a million years
okay,
old.
my theory. This is another unpopular opinion, which might become popular. I haven't tested it out yet. So this lone pterodactyl that had been around for 300 million years would go and fly to Loch Ness, pick up Nessie, transport it to puddles in South America. But on its way back, it dropped Nessie in Loch Ness one last time and was on its way back south. Because it takes a warmer climate than Scotland. I was flying over Arizona. Some Arizona cowboy D-bag shot it down. So that is why Nessie is stuck where it's at now. I just totally made peace in our family. Justice may reign now.
I disagree with that. But no, I'm like a descendant of a pterodactyl.
So, like a regular bird?
Yeah. Like a condor.
But a big one.
Or a giant owl. Because I know how much you love owls.
I'm having a hard time getting on board with owls just in general, and now we're introducing the giant 18-foot wingspan owl.
They don't have a picture of that. Because it
No,
burned
agreed.
down.
No, they do not.
And so I think it's only wingspan is only 10 feet. And there are birds with the wingspan of 10 feet. So.
Apparently not albatrosses or so, I've been told.
Have you seen condors, though?
Giant
They
birds.
just look like a turkey vulture that got hit with one of those blow-up
that's
rays.
pretty
They're
I've
ugly.
seen pictures of
Terrifying.
them. My only other exposure to them, which wasn't really exposures, at the Idaho Falls Zoo, where they have all those silhouettes of birds with their wings outstretched so you could see. Apparently, I have a bigger wingspan than a bald eagle, which made me feel really cool.
Did they shoot down Josh?
I'm pretty sure that's what the Thunderbird's name was.
I've been described as timeless, so it may have been me.
And
My
when you
memory
move,
sucks,
thunder
too.
rolls
Yeah.
and
I
lightning
think
comes.
endless was actually
You ever
the
call
phrase
me
we
thunder rolls
used.
again? That's another thing I've been called a lot, and I don't like it.
So what's your argument?
My argument was mainly just that it's probably not a pterodactyl. I don't know I had one beyond that.
No, I agree it's not a pterodactyl. That's not...
What?
I'm glad you
I
said
said
it, because it didn't confuse me at all.
I said pterodactyl-like.
No, you said it was pterodactyl.
So,
I said like a condor or pterodactyl. You're right, I did say it was a pterodactyl. Now that I'm repaying what I said.
this does bring up an interesting argument that comes up very, very often in cryptozoology. Is how likely do we think it is that a family of huge creatures could go undetected in the modern world? Because basically, small animals, that's a lot more conceivable that they'd be able to stay hidden efficiently. But when you get into like Megatherium, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot,
I think
those
it would
are
be
very large
So
creatures.
for the water ones, I think it's a lot easier to stay hidden in the water.
Sure.
And then the forest ones, it's a little harder because of the satellites and everything. But then we get into how much is the government keeping from us?
How many pterodactyls do they have on standby?
I've seen Jurassic Park.
Is the pterodactyl the one that takes care of the other pterodactyls?
Right. But badly. Like, they do it, like, first they act like they're helping somebody, then it turns into, like, a haunted house where they pull out a bone saw, and they're like, looks like you'll have to be losing the leg because it's a pterodactyl.
Mm.
I'm glad I went a long way for that terrible joke.
You need better insurance.
Dude, I'd be happy to be able to get into the pterodactyl.
I remember when I took you to the Ready Care last year because you broke your foot, and I asked you how long it had been since you'd been to the doctor, and you said 10 years.
Oh my god.
That made me cringe pretty bad.
I mean, I know how to live my life.
Do you?
I went 10 years without even going to the doctor.
He's not dead yet.
We need to get back to this. So I've heard Lindsay's opinion where she just like took it as a chance to bag on Obama. That was weird, not very on
I
topic.
think I ever did that.
Oh, I remember it differently.
Not while I was.
I want to hear everyone else's opinion on this though.
I think probably I don't think it probably is real, or at least not anymore. I think it's one of those things where it's comforting to think that there's something looking out for you, and that seems like a good story that you could tell your kids, right? Whenever there's a thunder and lightning, you can say, no, that's something that's looking out for us. And
but maybe not specifically the Thunderbird, but just something large. So Megatherium, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it would be really difficult for there to be something that large now that we didn't know about. I mean, there are people actively looking for, I mean, specifically Loch Ness and Megatherium and Thunderbirds. It seems like at some point someone would have come up with some pretty concrete.
But if they were smarter.
Which the longer I live, the more likely I think that
yeah,
is.
It doesn't seem impossible at all.
So I think, in North America, well, I mean, once you get up into Canada, there's more unknown. But as far as like, lower 48 states, it is super well, patrolled and mapped and everything. But I think the existence of something in the in USA is probably pretty slim.
Especially now that we all have a camera in our pocket.
Right. But once you get into South America, specifically, the Andes, Patagonia, the rainforest, there is so much area that like men have never, well, I mean, there might have been someone at some point who has stepped foot in there, but there's places like that we know exist, but there's never been an expedition to there, even today. I think, if there was something, it would have to be in one of those places. And I wonder also, like, up in the Yukon, up in, northern Canada, I'm sure that there's got to be places up there that's almost the same story.
Yeah, but then there's also the problem that people talk about, which is how many resources something that large would need to sustain themselves.
Right. That is true.
And in places, especially like the Yukon, I mean, it's a tundra. There's not a lot there to live on.
So, I mean, there is, the whole, like, the whale argument where it's like, so this giant whale is able to sustain itself off of krill. It's like, so you look at the food chain, wherever there is a opening, animals will find a way to fill that opening. So, whatever there is a resource to exploit, there will be something there to exploit that resource, and that kind of keeps the balance in nature. So, it is conceivable to say, like, where there is not much game up there, there's not much life up there, that there is still something there keeping a balance and keeping stuff in check.
You could eat seals.
Yeah.
I mean, not in all parts of the Yukon.
No,
but,
I know.
Okay.
Are we talking about the singer?
Yes.
There's only one of him. You'd have to make
I was going to say that's not a very long-lived resource, but also whales travel a lot to get the amount of krill that they eat. It's a big territory.
Fair enough. I mean, fair enough.
A giant bird, though, I feel like could cover a large amount of territory.
I would almost, I'd be more likely to say that it would be a terrestrial animal, either in the water or a terrestrial animal instead of a bird.
Are we talking about Bigfoot again?
No,
absolutely, we're talking about Bigfoot.
But
we're always talking about Bigfoot.
I mean, I would say that if it was terrestrial, that could make a little bit of sense, because I don't think it's a cryptid. I would say it's either paranormal or just a bird. Those are.
The Thunderbird, where I got to go with it is I'm going to go with, basically what Janelle said, where it was, it's a telling of there are things that we cannot explain, so we have to come up with some way to explain it, even though it might not be the right answer, is the origin of it. the story of it being shot down in the 1890s, I don't believe, I hear it being attributed as being a pterodactyl pretty often. That might just because of who our dad is. But I do not believe it was a pterodactyl. I believe it was somebody telling tall tales. Because, I mean, the story that is told, like, the way that Steven told it, maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but it's like the person who they'd supposedly left the picture with, like, it was almost like that person could never be found. Like, there's no proof that person even exists. And so the person who's telling
there's
the story,
proof.
Right, but his house burned down, and they were like, "Oh yeah, the picture was in there." So that's where the picture was.
So did they ever, like, was he able to repute it? Did they ever interview him or ask him about it? Like, say, yes, I had this picture, but it's gone now?
Well, I think at the time the picture wasn't as people weren't like seeking after it, so no.
Gotcha. I'm gonna go back to like just somebody pulled something out of thin air. They knew this person or they knew that they'd have a way to explain it away.
Well, or it was something big like a condor, and then it grew like a fish story and got bigger and bigger with retellings.
Like the condor is like coastal to California, right?
Yeah, but they're migratory. They can go a long way.
Oh, okay. I was gonna like make a theory that maybe like a condor somehow got blown into like Arizona and they shot it down. They didn't know what else to call it, so they called it the Thunderbird.
It's possible, but Arizona and California are pretty close. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out a way that there would be something out of the ordinary there that they would not know how to explain.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough.
But I guess even condors probably were not that prevalent back then, no matter where you were, unless you're in a very specific area. So it could have been a condor.
So are we all agreeing that it's a bird? That it's just a bird?
I thought he said it was Bigfoot.
I was hearing that it was Bigfoot.
It could be a Bigfoot.
Or Bad Squatch.
I already told my thoughts on Bad Squatch.
Yeah, the condor, I'm looking up their migratory range. They actually they have a big territory in Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico.
Okay. We'll screw them.
I mean,
let me talk.
Yeah.
Stuff gets. Have you heard people talk about hunting and fishing though?
Yes.
They just exaggerate so much.
Could have been a house fish.
Yeah. We just held hands because we were pinky swearing on the secret or something.
I don't like the tone you're taking, so I'm changing my argument. It was real. It's always been real, and it's coming to get you.
Okay.
This is one thunder rolls to another thunder rolls.
There were a couple people that were part of that group.
You a-hole. Always waiting until like after we've gotten into it. And like, oh, here's a crucial piece of evidence. Did you learn how to tell stories from TV? Like crime dramas? Where like you like leave the actual piece of evidence that's actually gonna solve the case until after the show is done.
He plays chess, fool. He knows how to.
This isn't chess, this is manipulation. I don't like it.
Have you
chess?
played chess?
Strategy. Chessmate.
I haven't played chess with Steven since we were kids because I would just sacrifice a bunch of pieces and annoy the crap out of
I would usually just grab my king and run away.
Both of those seem so on brand.
So there were a couple people that talked about the event later too. Like one talked about it to a kid, another one mentioned it in a bar. I can't remember the details, but what they both had in common,
that you tell really real stories.
what they both had in, well, no, they were part of the group that took the pictures and was involved. So what they both had in common though was that they saw a giant bird and they shot at it and they weren't able to hit it or take it down, and so it just ended up flying away, and then they came back to town with the tall tale.
Gotcha. So they all actually agree that they saw something.
Yeah.
But there's just this one random dude, or not random dude, but there's this one dude who's actually saying that they did shoot it down.
Yeah, and then it nailed it and took a picture and all that, which might be the case, but it also could have just been these two guys because they were both drunk when they were saying that it was nothing, which on one hand could be that them just talking whatever, or on the other hand, it meant they were more honest.
I was going to say, like, usually being drunk does not make a story smaller and less exciting.
Yeah. But they all did say that they saw a really huge bird with wingspan that was astronomically large.
Gotcha.
And I almost feel like I remember saying that it was carrying something, but I can't remember. So
I feel like birds a lot of the times look bigger. They're flying over you, and
I feel like
They're
this is your
terrifying.
own phobia. Because if we actually like look at the facts,
Have
like,
you seen me in a birdhouse?
yeah, it was really funny.
They're so huge.
I've never seen you look smaller. You're like walking around like a hunchback. It was...
I was so scared. They were just lorikeets too.
But there were so many of them, and they all moved as one.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It was a flock of lorikeets.
I was
I've
about
changed
to
my
say
mind.
that. God dang it,
I wonder
guys.
how
had
many
something that
times-
was actually good to say.
I wonder how many times a flock of birds have flown in a way that looked like a giant bird, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, it's a huge bird!"
I'm gonna say 0.
The world's been around for a long time. I wonder if it's ever happened.
Can we meet in the middle and say 2?
2 is not in between never and 0.
How
This
sober
is
were
why
the
we're
people
expanded
that
math
thought
theory.
that it was a giant bird?
And how many times do people see a giant bird and think it was a flock of very tiny birds?
Well, the thing with the wingspan covering the whole road, like that one, was she just looking at the shadow? Because shadows sometimes look bigger than the actual thing.
Not sure.
Yeah, shadows can cast a weird perspective.
The other day, I was finally in the path of the shadow of a plane. That was kind of cool. Of a airliner, and it flew over. And
did you think it was a Thunderbird?
yes, it was so loud.
But the wine, not
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I've
That's
actually
cool.
never seen a plane shadow, and it flew right over me. So
Oh, that's cool.
It weirds me out when I'm in my car and it does that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What's coming to get me, man?
The Thunderbird.
And acid flashbacks, and I've never tried acid. Do we have anything else to say? No? No? Good. All right. Follow us at Waterbabies Podcast on Instagram. Send us an email at waterbabieспod@gmail.com. Stay safe, America. Brazil. Good job on the butts. Bye-bye.
Bye.